Have you asked yourself, what makes a SeeAll Sight work? How do I use one? What are the benefits that I get with using a SeeAll Sight? Stay tuned, and all that and more we'll go over. Thank you for joining me. I'm Cray with the SeeAll Sight. So today we want to go over a little bit on how this SeeAll Sight works and how you will use one. So this is the Mark II, but this is going to work for all of our sights. They're all used in the same way, use kind of the same technology. They're just kind of put in different bodies and for different platforms. So first things first, you'll get this thing mounted up. They've been bore sighted from the factory. So usually don't play with them much. I would start about 10 yards to start sighting them in, and you should be on paper. So the sight itself, and I'm going to probably go back, well no, I might be able to do it from here. Everything's backwards to me in the lens, so makes this very difficult. So you can see the delta in there. So you can have it anywhere in there. This is similar to like a really high-end red dot, where the parallax isn't going to make it so you're way off target if you're clear over here to the side of the optic. So you can have it anywhere in there, but the preferred way to use it and where you're going to be able to see the most of your sight picture is right here against the top of the optic in the middle. The point of that triangle, or the intersection mark of the crosshair, if you decide on that reticle, that is where your point of impact is going to be. Try to get a real good picture of it. So as you move your eye around, this is going to move around. So the first couple times you're probably going to have to play with it until you see it. Once your eye sees it, it gets faster and faster the more you use it. The other problems we have is it's really easy to try to focus just on the sight picture, and it is what it does is your brain so focused on that it almost can create it a little bit blurry, because this is in focus with your target. So you want to focus on your target, and then this is just right there in the bottom half of it because it's an open sight. You use it kind of like you would your iron sights. There's no view through this sight. It's just like your iron sights where you got to line them up. You look right over the top, put the point on what you want to hit. Same concept here. You'll bring this to the top, you'll put the point exactly on what you want to hit, and yes, it's going to cut your target in half. You can sight them in. I personally sight them in to where my impact hits a little bit above the sight. That way I actually can see directly below where the impact's going to be. But some guys like to bury the bullseye, so they'll make it so it's going to hit directly behind the triangle. So that's up to you how you want to sight it in. But the biggest thing is you need to focus on the target, not necessarily the sight. The other thing that's kind of funny is you hand this to a kid or somebody who hasn't, I guess, in their mind got so set in their ways with looking through a scope, looking through red dots, where they're actually looking through something, and the only thing they've really known is just regular open sights. They pick these up extremely fast. You just tell them, put the delta on what you want to hit, and you're good to go. And they're like, oh, okay, easy, get it done, no problem at all. Now, us who've shot a lot, and we're really used to looking through things, putting crosshairs, especially scopes. I mean, anything long range, you're usually still using a scope. It takes our brain a second longer to realize what we're doing here, where this isn't a scope, this is an open sight. So leave both eyes open. It gives you a wide field of view. The only field of view you don't have is directly below the sight, which is where your barrel is anyway. So it takes a second to wrap your mind around that, but once you shoot it and you feel comfortable with it, it just gets more and more natural, because it's a lot like shooting your iron sights. The big thing about this though is you have all your edge glow material here. That's going to gather enough light. I mean, even a full moon will have enough light. So if you decide not to do the tritium lit model, you're still going to be able to shoot as long as you can see what your target is without your target being lit with something. Now, on the other hand, if you're using, like, say, self-defense, or you're in some type of situation where your target is lit, but you're back in a blind or a shadow, you might want to opt for the tritium model, because it is You can actually see it in there. And it is directly behind the reticle. It is actually, you can kind of see the vial in there because that's what the reticle is in front of. And so as soon as it gets dusk or dark whatsoever, it's going to start illuminating the reticle for you. And so there's never a time that this won't work, but we don't have any batteries, no electronics, and everything's a mechanical adjustment. So it's all set up to the point where you don't have to worry about things going wrong on you. This is like using your iron sights as far as durability, dependability, because there's really, I guess, not the electronics or battery failure, those type of things that you got to worry about going out on you while you're out there. It's encased in an aluminum body. We did a drop test. If you look at that video, it'll show you how rugged they are. These are acrylic. This isn't glass, this is an acrylic, and this is also an acrylic, which is both are very tough. These, worst I've seen is just people will scratch them or something, and generally how that happens is if they aren't careful when they put them into a safe and they ram it into another gun that has a sharp rail or something, they might do something. I mean, if something like that happens, the sight's still usable. It's just going to be a little bit annoying because then you got that little nick or a little scratch on it. Well, like, we'll sell you that optic for 10 bucks. These optics are quite a bit different than you think. They have little ears on them down in here, and there's a screw on each side, and that's what holds that optic in. So you pull those screws, that optic will come out, drop a new one in, and then inside those ears is where these threaded screws will fit into, and that's what locks it in. So the optic is mechanically locked too. It's not glued in. And so these are rated for any caliber. We haven't had any calibers that these weren't able to hold up, and that includes your air guns, even the reverse type kick and the different way that the air guns work doesn't hurt the SeeAlls, so you don't have to worry about that. I don't want to get too much into all the construction of it because we can do that in a different video. The biggest thing I want to hit in this video is how you use the sight, and the biggest thing is you'll pull it up, you'll see that sight picture, you'll most likely see a whole lot of green at first, and you'll just move it around, and then you'll see that come up. Once your eye sees that, it's a lot easier to bring it up again. So the biggest thing is just pull it up and down a few times so you see that. Keep both eyes open if you can. I know sometimes there's limitations there that don't work, but if you can keep both eyes open, your other eye gathers in so much more of your field of view than you would typically get. It's really difficult to do that with iron sights because you're trying to line up 2 points plus your target. So you got 3 different points to worry about, where this, you're just focusing on your target, and this will be in focus with it. So it's really simple to do both eyes open, and definitely the preferred way. So try that. If it seems blurry to you, this does not work for nearsighted vision. You will need your glasses, which if you're nearsighted, hopefully you're using glasses anyway so you can see what your target is. It does work with farsighted, and obviously 20/20 vision, all that's good to go. The only thing we've really heard that it's not working or it makes it a little bit blurry is if you're nearsighted. So because this is in focus with your target, so if you can't see your target clearly, you're not going to see this clearly. Outside of that, I think that's pretty much the biggest part. We have a video on adjustment. You can refer to that if you need help adjusting. So yeah, I think that's about all I wanted to cover in this. I guess a few of the benefits real quick. I talked about the edge glow, talked about the tritium. They're mechanical as far as the adjustment. They've got we figure it's about 150 to 175 inches of windage. It depends on if your rail is perfectly straight on your gun. Obviously, if it's not directly lined, you're going to be off a little just to get this sighted in so that it takes some of your windage out of the play. But they've got some of the most windage and elevation adjustment on the market, so there's very, very few guns that we haven't been able to get sighted in, and the ones that we couldn't, they said that they couldn't get anything else sighted in. We had to do some modifications to the rail, and then that worked after that. So we can't do much about if your rail's not perfectly in line with the bore, but as far as anything else, they sight in really quick, and a lot of guys say that our bore sighting that we do at the factory, they're pretty much on right out of the factory. They don't have to make much adjustments, maybe just a couple inches here and there, but they're definitely on paper and sometimes hitting bullseye right out of the box. So pretty good to go on that. You will get your Allen wrench to adjust these in your package, and you will get an Allen wrench to mount them if it requires it. This particular one doesn't because it's got the thumb nut. It does come with a cap nut also on the Mark IIs to make them a little bit more low profile if you don't want this thumb nut on them. But it does come with your mounting hardware, and it comes with your windage and elevation adjustment Allen wrench. So we'll be making a few more of these videos going over different tips, things on how to use these. I hope this one helped out. These are just some of the questions I've got while doing this. The biggest thing is give it a chance. Don't also holding it in your hand. It's going to seem way more shaky. It's going to seem like, holy cow, this thing's all over the place. It's going to feel that way because your hand is not perfectly still. You mount it on anything and it instantly gets much more solid. Definitely if you put that on a rifle, because you're going to be shouldering it, everything's way more solid, and this thing's going to appear as solid as you're holding the gun. So it makes it look really solid. It doesn't look shaky. If you're holding it in your hand, it definitely looks a little bit shaky because it's showing every little wiggle in your hand. So make sure you give it a fair chance when you open them and pull them out of the box, because they do work. They honestly, they work fantastic, but there's a little bit of a learning curve. And so once you get through that learning curve, that's when you can have a lot of fun with these. If you have any other questions, I can try to help you out in the comments. Put comments in down below the video. And then also if you have any recommendations on maybe another video on something you have questions about, something you want to see, if you're still in the market about maybe buying one of these, let me know. I can make another video and try to get everybody's questions answered and concerns. Thanks for watching, and have fun out there.